Good evening. I call this meeting to order at 5 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. Roll call. Let the record reflect that Director Hayes is absent. Approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
I'll move the agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Public comment. We have no members of the public in person or online at this time. Community reports. We have no one in person or online at this time. So we will move on to item 3, consent items. Does anyone have any items they would like to pull? No? Okay.
No, if not, I'll move the item.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor of the motion to approve the consent items, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, the motion passes. Number 4, there are no matters removed, so we will move on to number 5, presentations and appointments, framework readiness assessment for annual water use objective. Ms.
Okay.
Oaks.
Yes.
Let us just have a second. We'll get the presentation on screen.
Okay. So this that we're bringing forward is a dashboard that was developed by a consultant hired by Mojave Water Agency to assess everyone's readiness for the upcoming drought framework and other items that have been put forth by the state, specifically AB 1668 and SB 606, and then components of SB 555. So the state has basically gotten all of its data together, and we are preparing to begin reporting starting January 1st as per the legislation. Just a refresher, AB 1668 and SB 606 were passed in response to the governor's executive order establishing conservation as a way of life. They required the state to develop water-efficient standards for both indoor and outdoor use, and some requirements for CII, which is commercial, industrial, and institutional use. And they also establish reporting requirements. So if you look at this first slide, you can see the components that make up the water use objective, and which is the indoor use, the outdoor use, the commercial use, then our aggregate water loss, variances that can be applied for, and then bonus incentives as well. There's also a component of 2 different tasks which are going to be required, and that's going to be installation of dedicated irrigation meters for CII uses, and then also some CII best management practices that are going to be required. So the good news is the consultant said that we are in a very good position. She was very pleased to tell us that because she said that she doesn't have the pleasure of telling very many agencies that. We are projected to be fully compliant through 2035 in terms of our water use objective and the standards set by the state. Part of this is due to the fact that since 2015, we've reduced our overall gallons per capita per day by 14%. The only thing that we're going to really need to be keeping an eye on is our task compliance, as we have not begun that yet. So the next couple of slides kind of details this. The original target that the state was setting for indoor water residential use was set at 55 gallons per capita per day. They recently passed SB 1157, which has lowered that to 47 gallons per capita per day in 2025, and then 42 gallons per capita per day in 2030. Even with those reduced targets, we're still projected to meet those standards. So that was part of the component, and then the other component was the outdoor use. That is still kind of up in the air. Those are projected numbers there that you can see on each of the compliance tabs. But those are going to ultimately be determined on what they settle on as the ET rate, or the ET factor, which is still up for debate.
And the ET is evaporative transpiration?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and that gradually is reduced each year. And so it's kind of up for debate how much they're reducing it each year.
The gallons per day per capita, is that per household or is that per individual per household?
That's per individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next slide you'll see basically is blank data since we don't have any dedicated irrigation meters at this point. This will change because we do have institutional usage with our schools and then as well as district usage. So as we move forward with our program, this will be populated. And then this next slide, this has to do with SB 555, which deals with district-side water loss. This is all data that's been pulled from our annual water audit. We are in a pretty good position with this. We are just slightly over the gallons per connection loss per day. But that is something, or not per day, sorry, per year. But that's something that the consultant says we need to keep an eye on. We are in a pretty good position comparatively, though. We are anticipating this going down with our programs that we have in place, our meter replacement program, our service line replacement program, and then some other programs that we're going to be implementing. So this, again, is predictive of our forecast of our compliance readiness for the irrigation meters. A big part of this is there's no performance standards that have been set by the state yet, so we don't really know where we need to go with this. They're saying that we can either install these irrigation meters based upon how much water is used per connection or possibly per customer, but they haven't set those in place yet. They also are offering, in lieu of technology, implementing certain best management practices that we'll take a look at too to see which is makes the most sense as far as staff time and efficiency and effectiveness. There are some best management practices that we're going to be required to put in place with the commercial and institutional use. This is going to include mapping all of our accounts that meet those types and identifying our top users and working with them actively and proactively to reduce their water usage. So that's going to be a big part of this program.
We have what, 3?
No, we have, I mean, the major one is the school.
Yeah, the schools.
Yeah, but they have so many meters. So luckily, we're hoping not to have to get too much in this because there's going to be variances for sports fields and things like that. The state's taking that into consideration, but there is going to be some proactive actions required on our part to help the schools get into compliance with this. So, as they are our biggest customer, of course. The next slide is just some of our water use and trends and forecasts based on our urban water management plan. Sorry, Don, I think it's the next one. And you can see that decrease in the residential usage that we saw, but there is that increase in the commercial and institutional use. But that's just because the school came online, really.
Yeah.
That's why.
The Sheep Creek
Yeah.
couldn't supply them, so.
The next slide is the standards that we're going to be looking at. The 2024 reporting period is the first required reporting period, but the 2025 period is the period that if agencies don't meet their goals, they can have conservation measures implemented by the state. Luckily, barring any unforeseen circumstances, we are set to not have any reduction needed at all. And if you look through the next couple of slides, that's actually the case all the way through 2035. But again, we didn't anticipate usage climbing so high in 19 and 20. But if things remain as they are, this is what we're looking at. You can see the under percentage though drop as that obviously the standards increase for both the indoor and outdoor usage. And that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Yeah, I do. I know the state took a one-size approach fits all for the water conservation in implementing these measures and passing those initiatives. But how can we address our customers that have large properties that may have livestock, horses? I know when I worked in the Riverside area, we did a water budget, so we went out and assessed their properties based on their acreage, the type of livestock or horses they might have had, and we set them up with a budget. If they stayed within the budget, they paid a certain rate, and if they exceeded that budget, there were severe rate increases, which was so-called penalty. But how do we address that for our customers here out in our area, our service areas?
So there are a couple of variances that we can apply for, and they specifically apply to livestock and to swamp coolers. We spoke with the consultant about this. She says that she feels at this time that it's going to be far too complicated and burdensome on agencies to apply for these variances. Unfortunately, that's how the state set it up. But based on the projections right now, she says we're not really in a position that we even need to be concerned about that. So.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, because I would imagine as time goes on, we will have an avenue through the state to apply for those.
Yes, and
variances.
especially if we see that reduction needed, it's
Yeah.
something that we'll want to look into.
Yeah. I seen this when it first came out in its infancy, but wasn't really super involved, so it's good to see the update on it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, I just had a question about the ET, the evapotranspiration. How can they adjust that? That's a, there's pan-evaporative studies that give evapotranspiration for the areas.
Well, that's part of the big debate is they are starting with that, whatever it is for the area, and then saying, well, we're going to continue to reduce it down, and people are going to have to adjust based on their landscaping and based on their irrigation system. So that's the big debate right now about how is that fair, how is that possible?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
I mean, that's the science.
Right,
And
exactly.
So if they just want everybody to have nothing but dirt, I guess.
Right, and there's the other side where everybody's saying, well, we need trees, obviously, for climate. So that's where the big debate is right now.
Yeah, that's where the wool calls list comes in, and you plant trees that are within the zone that your climate is, so you don't use excessive water. But that's not always.
But you're using water.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's supposedly, like Joshua trees grow up here with hardly any rain. Certain pine trees or evergreens will grow unlimited water. So it's just, you got to look at that. Definitely the public will have to educate themselves, and we'll have to do a good job at educating the
Yeah,
public
well, I
as
think
well.
that districts like this are gonna have to voice their opinion on this strongly.
Yeah,
And
I agree
make
with you.
suggestions that this is ridiculous or not, so.
Because not every watershed is the same, and every watershed's impacted differently, and that's where our urban water management, I can't talk tonight. Our urban water management plan comes in, so we look at that, but that's all I had. Thanks.
I know at the TAC meeting, they're starting a ad hoc committee that starts next month to go over urban water usage, and I'll be on that committee.
Good.
So any data they have, I'll bring back. Any handouts, I'll make sure I get into the office.
Excellent.
So
That'd
we'll all be
great.
talking about, so we can bring in communication with Sacramento.
Yeah, exactly.
end.
Yes.
So above us is working on, is about, well, with us is working with us, or well, trying to make this work as well as we can.
Yeah, we're very appreciative to them hiring the consultant
Yeah.
over there. It's,
And that consultant, I believe, we working with the ad hoc committee.
yeah, that's good.
So we'll be meeting next month, I think on the 19th.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on to item 6A, public hearing on water conservation measures. I declare that the public hearing on resolution number 2023-17, rescinding State 2 mandatory restrictions on water use and reverting to Stage 1 mandatory restrictions on water use, is now open at 5:16 PM. May we have the secretary's report, please?
Yes, at this time, I'd like to report the district received 0 written protests, objections, or comments on resolution number 2023-17.
Thank you. May we please have the attorney's report, Mr. Kennedy?
Thank you, Madam President. Notice of public hearing was published on June 14th and June 21st, 2023 in the Daily Press. A notice of public hearing was published on the district website and posted in the district office beginning June 5, 2023. The draft resolution was available for public review in the district office or by request. Copies of the resolution were also made available in the district office and upon request in accordance with applicable law. As a result, the district has complied with all of the legal requirements necessary for this hearing in the manner and times required by California law.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. May we have the staff report, please?
Yes, on June 15th, 2022, the board adopted resolution number 2022-19, enacting Stage 2 mandatory restrictions on water use as a response to the emergency drought regulations adopted by the State Water Board. On March 24th, 2023, the Governor of the State of California issued Executive Order N-5-23, lifting both the voluntary 15% water conservation target and the requirement for local water agencies to implement Level 2 drought contingency plans. In addition to the lifting of the state requirement to implement Level 2 of the district's drought contingency plan, the district is not experiencing a water shortage, and therefore it is appropriate to rescind Level 2 drought contingency plan restrictions and revert to Stage 1 drought restrictions as described in ordinance number 2021-02.
Thank you, Mrs. Sevi. At this time, we will open the public hearing for public comment.
We have one member of the public online.
You recognizing me?
Yes, Cheryl?
Oh, I support the action, and just a comment, made the same comment when you originally considered the ordinance. The months of the year need to be adjusted somehow because it's not always freezing in October and not always too hot, etc. So someday perhaps that can be looked at to be more feasible. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. With no further members of the public, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move to close.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I declare the public hearing closed at 5:19 PM. Thank you. All right. Moving on to agenda item 6B, discussion and possible adoption of resolution 2023-17, rescinding Stage 2 mandatory restrictions on water use and reverting to Stage 1 mandatory restrictions. Ms. Sevi?
Yes, for the reasons just stated in the public hearing, staff is recommending for the board to adopt resolution number 2023-17, which will remove Stage 2 mandatory restrictions and put in place Stage 1. And a copy of those restrictions was included in the agenda materials.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? No? All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right. I'll second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. Okay. Okay, moving on to 6C, discussion and possible action regarding annual purchase orders for fuel from Rebel Oil and sodium, is that a typo? Hypochlorite from Univar Solutions. Mr. Wright, this one's yours.
The district currently purchases gasoline at $3.44 a gallon and diesel fuel at $3.44 per gallon from Rebel Oil. Limited availability within our geographic location in conjunction with the fuel delivery schedules of the distributors and limited fuel storage capabilities at our operations yard render Rebel Oil the only vendor capable of meeting the district's needs for fuel, as larger distributors require larger quantities per delivery. The purchase of sodium hypochlorite or bleach is purchased from Univar Chemical Solutions in mini bulk rates, small tankers, at $3.69 per gallon, with deliveries from 550 to about 600 gallons. These deliveries guarantee the quality of chemicals being delivered, as purchasing in drum batches can lead to quality and availability issues, as we've experienced in the past. Per Section 60 of the district's purchasing policy, exemptions to competitive bidding, this item was not advertised for bids because staff deemed advertisement for competitive bidding would be undesirable, impractical, or impossible. Staff feels that advertising in a publication for fuel and chemicals will not produce a competitive advantage due to the limited quantities and qualities that are purchased by the district. It is staff's recommendation that the board approve the blanket purchase orders for fuel and sodium hypochlorite as budgeted for the fiscal year 23 and 24.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on this item?
I just had a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of our fuel storage, both for gasoline and diesel, I did have an opportunity a couple months back to meet with Sean and meet the staff down there and go through the operations yard. Maybe on a future agenda item, we can discuss additional fuel storage that especially becomes important during EOC operations or extended issues with emergencies and deliverability because of our location from San Bernardino or the Inland Empire. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just, as long as Mr. Kennedy's reviewed it and had no objections to this, this item.
No objections, Director Roberts.
Thank you. With that, I would move the, unless you have some comments. With that, I would move the item.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. All right, moving on to 6D, update on solid waste program implementation. Ms. Sevi.
Okay, so just a quick presentation to keep you all updated on our progress so far. We've received 357 applications, and that's a result of them going out to our Sheep Creek customers. These applications will be mailed out to district customers and CR&R customers in July. Some interesting statistical data, 56% of the applications so far are for CR&R customers, and 44% are self-haulers. So we're seeing 21 self-haulers switching to CR&R, and one self-hauler or one CR&R customer switching to self-haul. So the trend is holding from the first data set. Website update from the last meeting to this one. What we did is we incorporated the solid waste application into the water service application, since you have to have both now. This will help us more efficiently gather these applications for our property transfers or tenants. Also, I played around with ChatGPT and built a little sorting wizard. So if there's an item on there that's missing, let me know. We'll add it.
It's a fun little tool.
Yeah, it's neat. And then, so if you go on our website under residential, there's a little box, you can click on it. And then, so some of our outreach, again, we were mailing all district residents this information. There's a letter, application instructions, the what goes where flyer, and a flyer on what's changing and why. Today, our first electronic newsletter regarding this did go out, and it does link you to the website if you'd like to complete your application. Starting some social media posts, so stories, videos, just posting just to get people to interact with it, and all of it leads you to our website. I was working with a member of the community. He used to teach ag classes back in the day, and so I met with him and Brandon and with CRNR, and we went over common livestock disposal items, and we fine-tuned this flyer from the last meeting to this, and this one's now posted, and it's handed out to our customers who let us know when they sign up for water service if they have livestock. So that's one of the questions we asked, just so we understand water usage for our customers, and hopefully this helps them understand what goes in what bin and what never belongs in any of the bins. And there is a spot on the website for it too, if you wanted to look it up. I'll be getting 100 of these pails probably next week from CRNR to hand out. And that's kind of it. That's all that's changed from last meeting to this. We've been very busy, lots of phone calls. I don't know if you have any questions.
They're still in the process of changing out their bins, correct? Not all of the current customers have the 3 bins yet?
Oh, no, yeah. We're
think
going to
they're gonna start
start in
taking
July,
Right.
and it's going to take until January to reach everybody.
Okay.
And new customers are going to be given the 3-cart system right away. So if you change or you just move into the area, that's what you're given. The switch out is done by routes. And so what you'll notice is if you have 3-cart service or 2-cart service now, you'll keep 1 trash cart. They'll replace the lid on your other trash cart, and then they're going to give you another one with the 3rd color lid. So
Okay.
it's kind of how it's going to happen. And if you have a dumpster and you haven't changed to the bins or the carts, you'll be given 2 carts alongside of that. So far, people have been understanding. They're calling in, asking questions, and we're helping them work through their applications if they need it. And it's been fairly positive because we can keep self-haul, and they realize the form is not a big deal.
Right. And then for those that are continuing to self-haul, I know that some of this is redundant, but they're not being required to self-sort at this time because the transfer station isn't ready for that, correct?
My understanding is starting in July, the transfer station will be requiring that activity. So they'll want you to separate before you go. That way you're ready to drop off at the appropriate location when you get there.
Oh, excellent.
If anything changes, I'll let you know,
Yeah.
but that's the last I heard. It's happening in July, and
Great.
hopefully they'll have receipts.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
I have a
And-
comment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do self-haul, and the last month and a half, the county has been issuing out the receipts, like you said, on our last meeting. And county personnel is now working the station in
Okay.
terms of asking you for your dump card and/or ID at times. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So,
Yeah, Brandon is going to take me on a ride along, and we're going to go through the transfer station and see how it operates in July,
Yeah.
just to kind of keep our eyes on it.
and they've upped the separation between the regular trash, the green waste, the steel, the electronics, and the cardboard and tires.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. They've
So
been
they're actually.
making moves.
They're walking around now with a clipboard, so you're gonna see them ramp up for you self-haulers.
Yeah, they've had those different areas for quite a while,
Yeah,
but they weren't checking things.
Right.
They were,
They were laxed
You know.
about it, but now they're out there, they've got probably 2 or 3 more personnel than I've ever seen.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine they're getting similar calls and questions for their process as
Yeah.
we are, so.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to 6E, update on the proposed Civic Center and Phelan Park expansion. Ms. Sevi?
This will be really quick because George isn't here to give us an update on what's happening at the county. Jen and I, we met with our parks consultant today, land and water conservation grant, that's been submitted. They've already gone through the preliminary review, and cross your fingers, we've been selected for a site visit, so that's important part of the process, and if that goes well, we'll be in the running for consideration for the grant. So they're actually moving pretty quickly on this one because we did just submit it.
Tim, I have a question. Would it be
Yes.
helpful to have a board member there during the walkthrough?
So they have specifically requested no more than 1 or 2 staff members. Particularly, they preferably only want the consultant
problem.
and our engineer. Because I think they're trying to keep it concise and get as many of these things done as they can at a time. Last time, I think we overwhelmed them with our entire staff.
You were excited.
But thank you. I'll let you know, though, in the future.
Yeah, please do. All right, thank you.
All right, questions? Nope. All right, moving on to agenda item 7, committee reports, engineering.
Yes, engineering met. The minutes are in the, this is for the May 23rd. We met in June. The May minutes are in the packet. That we met in June and went over the projects, the new well, and that the staff is ready for the summertime, and that's about it. If you have any other questions.
No.
Did
All
you
right.
have any additions?
No, that was perfect. All right, finance committee? That's you.
We
Jim.
did not meet. Yeah, I was putting one thing away.
All right, legislative.
We met, but he's actually the chair, so.
The board meeting before last.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing.
So
new to
nothing new
report.
since that
Yeah,
one.
nothing
All
new to
right.
report.
Same with Park and Rec. We didn't meet since then. And waste and recycling.
We didn't meet, we'll be meeting next month on, I forget what day.
Yeah, it's the 3rd Thursday. We'll
Okay.
be reviewing the solid waste ordinance.
Great. All right, so item 8, staff and general managers report. Anything to add?
Just a quick update. We did get some calls today. The county did have an outage of their wells, so we were delivering water to them. So some of our customers did experience lower pressure than normal, still within the guidelines. But that, I don't know what the timeline is for us to stop delivering water. Do you know, Sean?
Yeah, we're currently delivering the county Zone J 300 gallons a minute for the foreseeable future. They had 2 of their wells go down unexpectedly, so they're kind of feeling those summer blues at the moment. And it's going to be at least for the next few weeks.
Okay. All right, so then we will go to director's reports. Start with Director Phillips.
I attended the ASB CSD meeting, and we met with, we had a presentation by a supervisor, I forget her name, the one from out in the 29 Palms area. It was very interesting to find out how many different boards they sit on, each of the supervisors. They sit on numerous boards besides just the supervising board. And how she was really the spearhead of addressing the grows. She was a big fighter for, that ended up helping us, even though she doesn't cover our area. So she was a very nice lady to meet, and I hope to have another interaction with her is important.
I think it's Supervisor Rao.
That's the name.
Thank you. All right. Director Roberts.
Nothing more to add.
All right. Director Snyder.
Nothing to report out, but just comments back. Let everybody know that you should have received your annual water quality report in the mail. If you have, please take the time to look at that and see the water quality where we meet or exceed the standards, both state and federal EPA. For our district, our staff does a good job at providing you good, clean, quality water. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. And I had nothing new to report. So we will move on to 10, correspondence and information. Ms. Sevi?
Yep, so we went ahead and put in the letter that was going out in our bills. A similar one was going out to CR and our customers, just a little bit more tailored to them. And then the only other item in here, well, 2 other items, I'm sorry. Notice a water rate change, so our rates are adjusted annually in July. And our summer conservation tips.
All right, thank you. All right, so number 11, review of action items. Were there any prior meeting action items?
There were none.
Okay, and current meeting action items?
We're gonna look at an additional fuel storage tank, so we'll get some costs and potentially bring that back to the board.
Okay, thank you. Then we will set agenda for next board meeting, July 12th. Does anyone have anything they would like to add?
Not at this time.
No? All right, thank you. So if there is no further business, we will adjourn at 5:35 PM. Thank you.
Thank you.